Well, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of like problems as a whole within the fraternity and sorority societies. Do you think that other than the hazings and all the deaths and such, do you think that there's more problems that come with that, and what are they?
I think that's a great. Well, you were just talking about that it wasn't just the hazing stuff, but that.
Well,
it was
it's not just the hazing stuff, and it's not
culture of
just fraternities and
violence.
sororities, I think. I mean, I think they're part of part of a culture of dangerous drinking that's totally out of proportion to the way students in different universities around the country are functioning. And they also live in a neighborhood that has an amazing level of violence and crime in it. And I don't know how much they contribute to that, but they exist within that space. And I think that if Chico's party culture, and it's more than that too, because like Chico's always had a drinking culture, and I don't know that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. We live in a small town where they have nothing to do. If they're 21, they can go to bars. If they're not, they can go who knows where. But the levels of the level of social problems connected to their drinking makes it obviously something that needs to be addressed. And the fraternities and sororities are a part of that, and they exist in that neighborhood. And so I'm not sure what needs to be done. In a way, like I feel that they perpetuate that party culture, and that they've been largely responsible for inculcating it in the new students that come along, because they exist as an institution and other students come and go. But on the other hand, I also think that the university in part wants to scapegoat them and say, like, they're the reason this is happening, and if we deal with the fraternity and sorority problem, the rest of it won't happen, and that's untrue. So I think it's a complicated issue.
Okay. Do you think that because of the fact that they are such a deep-rooted system, and that they are supposed to have these, this kind of high morale of, we are middle class, mostly white men, that they are more privileged than if there were to be a completely ethnic fraternity? Do you think that they would be targeted more because they are ethnic, or do you think that the fraternities, that are mostly just white males, are being kind of pushed aside and not really thought of because of who they are?
Well, I mean, I think we do have fraternities and sororities that are not just composed of white males. Obviously, sororities are composed of women, and I'm not sure actually the percentages of students that participate in. I think that fraternities and sororities are different things. I really do, and I think that some of them are cultural organizations, and their part of their mission is to maintain the cultural traditions and values of the communities that students come from. There used to be an African American fraternity. I don't know if there still is. There's a Latino fraternity, and there's a Christian sorority, and I think a lot of these organizations do a lot of good. And it might be a disservice. They might be doing themselves a disservice by maintaining their status as a fraternity or sorority, and might be better off to have some other organizational structure or some other designation. And then there are the fraternities that are like devoted to maintaining the party culture, like the one that just got kicked out. And so I think that there's this huge continuum of behaviors and attitudes and ideas within the fraternity sorority system, and the part of it that we see and are talking about and that registers the most in our town is the really bad side of it, and I think that there's a good side of it. But on the other hand, I wonder if the idea or the name for fraternity and sorority has been so damaged by the way those other ones have behaved that maybe it's not best to drop it. and maybe these groups should, the groups that are doing good things should maybe reform under some other umbrella. And I don't know if that, I don't know how likely or possible that is, but it seems like if that were to happen, the groups that were doing good things and they had to advertise and demonstrate the values they had and had to stay in line with those values in a public way, if those groups could gain a higher profile, it would encourage other groups to do similar things. And because the thing I hear a lot from fraternities and sororities is like, some fraternities and sororities are like this, but we're not like that, and we're getting tarred with the same brush. And I kind of think in a way that's not something that they can really avoid, unless they somehow are able to affect some sort of major cultural shift within fraternities and sororities, so that then they are the ones that show up more than the ones who do wrong. But I don't think that's going to happen.